Greetings viewers and welcome to what I'm hoping will be another educational video for you. If you clicked on the link, you're interested in learning about the robotic weapons in the game, so let's start talking about them. The two that exist in the game currently right now are the ones you see before you. The one on the left is the robotic turret, and the one on the right is the robotic sledge. So how do we get our hands on these guys? So just like some of the other traps that we've talked about in previous videos, you can purchase either of these from the merchant. You can loot them in the world while you're running around, and you can also craft them. However, there is a little bit of a difference in how you're able to craft these guys. So, for the robotic sledge, in order to unlock crafting for this, you're going to need to be level 1 in Robotics Inventor. So when we look at our skill under Intellect, Robotics Inventor, under level 1 at the very bottom of the blurb at the top there, you see that it says Unlock Robotic Sledge Crafting. You can also see some of the other benefits, including, putting points into this level allows you to craft level 2, and then as you go up, you can craft higher tier ones. So the normal traps that are in the game that require power, there is no tier levels to them, so they are what they are, and you get what you get. So with these, they are a bit different. So we go back to the crafting section here, and then we look at the robotic turret, and you can see this one's locked. The only way that you can unlock this is by finding the robotic turret schematic, which is going to look like this. You can see here it has the closed book because I do not know how to craft this item, and the robotic sledge has the open book symbol because I do know how to craft that. So those are the two ways that you can craft them. So in order to craft the robotic turret, again, as of right now, if I were to craft a level 5, you can see the parts that it would use here. So if you find these robotics parts around in the wasteland, I'd recommend holding on to those. This thing takes quite a little bit of steel to make. Some duct tape, scrap polymers, and springs. So again, not quite as complicated as some of the other traps. And then for the sledge, this is what it's going to need. It does not use steel. Since it allows you to build it with the first tier of Robotics Inventor, it starts using forged iron. Keep in mind, this is 120 forged iron with a level 5. So the lower quality tier ones are going to require less materials. As you can see, again, like I mentioned, they do come in different quality tiers, and based on that, it's kind of like the gear that you get in the world. You can see the stats up here are a little bit different. So I'll go through these slowly, and if you want to read them in a little bit more detail, you can just pause the video. They do marginally increase a little bit as they go up, as most things do in the game when they get a higher quality tier item. Then we'll look at the sledge. All right, so another benefit to these is that you can actually modify them. So some of the mods that are allowed to be put on here, I've kind of put in here to show you. There's also different ammo types that are available for the turret version. So they are sort of easier, but also a little bit more complicated than the electric traps. So what I'll focus on first is we're going to focus on the robotic turret here. That's the one that's on the left that has the gun barrel. They both have little lasers, and they kind of auto-rotate when they're in sentry mode here so that you can see where they're kind of looking and what their field of view is. So right now, because I have Robotics Inventor maxed out, I can have 2 of these active. So right here it says 2 deployed robots can be active at once. If I did not have this, and even if I was just level 4, one of these would be powered down. Also, the range that you are away from these things is dependent on your skill. So as I walk further and further away from these, once I hit that threshold, they'll actually deactivate, and they'll still exist in the world. Oh, you can see the robotic turret kind of put its head down a little bit. The sledge I'm still close to. There we go. So now they're both deactivated. So if you have a very large horde base, or if your plans are to place these things to cover something that you can't cover because you're fighting zombies over here, you need to know what your distance is and how far away you get from these, because as soon as you hit that range again, they reactivate. So again, I can have 2 active right now, and for the purposes of this demonstration, I'll be using each of these. So we're looking at the turret. So again, I said you can have different ammo for that. So again, you can purchase these 3 different types of ammo. The robotic turret ammo is just the most basic stuff that you can get. You can just craft it using iron. That's it. That's all it takes. There's nothing else fancy for it. The robotic turret ammo also just uses iron. It just uses a little bit more. And the shells require iron and buckshot. So it's not really that complicated. You can get your hands on a lot of iron in the game, and you can also find buckshot all over the place. So pretty easy, but you'll have to unlock the recipe to craft these things, and those are going to come from these Tech Junkie books. These are also going to help you in terms of your skills in using these things. So for example, book number 1, you can see here robotic weapons do 10% more damage, and it doesn't specify robotic turret or robotic sledge, so that includes both of them. So either of these two that you see in front of you are going to do more damage. Book number 2 keeps robots and stun batons, or helps them degrade 20% slower. So if these are out in the world, zombies are hitting them or they're taking damage from just being used. So book number 3 lets you create the AP turret ammo. Book 4 lets you craft the robotic shells. And book number 7 increases the rate of fire for both of these, so they'll kind of be going off quicker. So we're going to go ahead and use all of these books. I'm going to clear up that inventory space. Also, once you max out the Tech Junkie set, so if I were to have gotten these two as well, down here you can bulk craft all 3 of the robotic turret ammo types that I've shown you here. So as you can see in here, these are also locked here, but these craft 1,000 at a time. And it just takes more resources, but you can have a bigger stack of them. So these things work when you place them on the ground. They will also work if you hold them in your hands. So if I wanted to use this robotic sledge in order to place it in the world, I have to right click, which is then going to give me this kind of ghosted image. It'll be green when you can place it, and it'll turn red if you can't. So as like that, if I try right clicking again, nothing happens because I cannot place it there. So I'm going to place this here. And as you notice, that turret shut down. If I get closer to it, this one deactivates. So depending on how you have your horde base set up, if you have multiples, you can have different stations that you run to and use each of the different types. So if I want to pick this thing up, all I do is I just look at it and hit E. I do not have to worry about having a land claim block down or anything special to pick it up. There's no special menu to access while it exists in the world. You access any of the upgrades and modifiers in your inventory. So you click on the item itself. We'll go up here to modify. You can also repair them. If they're damaged, these do require repair kits to fix. So we can hit modify. Well, I said I was going to do the other one first, so let's do that. So we'll go to modify here. So you can actually change the color of these. You can put dye in there if you want to be fancy. You want to match this thing to your base. You can change the colors of it. I'm a fan of green and black. We'll make this one green. And as I have this open, you can see these little green icons here with the gears, meaning that these mods are compatible with this particular thing that you have open. Since this is level 6, I have 4 modifier slots. If I were to look at the level 1, it only has 1 modifier. 2 also only has 1. 3 is when you can put 2 in there. 4 is 2. 5 is 3. And then again, 6 is 4. So come back down here. Not all of these, from what I am to understand, actually work while they exist in sentry mode, which again is when they're deployed in the world doing their own thing. However, the magazine extensions they do definitely work, so I would definitely recommend those. The higher the magazine that you can put down, the better. So obviously the drum, if you can get your hands on 1 or spares so that you can use them in your handheld weapons plus turret, would be beneficial. You can do the burst or full auto mod. I just feel like that's more of a waste of ammo. But if you wanted this thing just to go rip roaring around and just blasting some rounds off, you can put it on full auto at all. When you're using it in handheld mode, it gets a little insane with the recoil. Rad remover is again for radiated zombies. It's supposed to stop their health from regenerating. If you were to look at their health bar when you damage them, it's constantly going up. Supposedly this does not work when it's in sentry mode, but it does work when you're holding it. And we can do the cripple mod. Let's do that. I would highly recommend anything you can do to increase the magazine capacity, and other than that, it's kind of your choice what you would use. So we will close this out. So we switch to this guy. We have all 3 of the different types of ammo in our inventory. So once we are holding this thing, if we hold R, we get this little radial menu and we can move our mouse over it. Just like all the other menus in the game that are similar to this, you don't need to click or do anything special. If I want to use the shells, I just highlight my mouse over it and I release R. And automatically the ammo type will switch. In the bottom corner, you can see there, it's now 288 out of 711. So now once I reload this thing again, it will automatically draw from that pool until it's empty. So if I just start firing this thing, and I'm going to go ahead and hold the mouse button down so you can see what full auto looks like. And as you can see, we are just climbing to the sky. So if you plan on shooting it like this, I would not use full auto. You're going to be fighting with it, trying to keep it on target. So once we're at a sufficient level where we need to reload it, just tap R. Your guy will shove some stuff in the tube and it's ready to go again. You will have to do that if it's placed, if it's placed in the world and it's run out of ammo and it stops shooting, you're going to have to pick it up, hit R, and then place it back in the world. So in order to place it, you right click. Again, it comes up with this green thing and you right click again. If you're in this menu and you left click, it'll do exactly what I just did a second ago and it'll fire it off. So if I left click, it just shoots and puts it back in your hand. So I have to right click and then right click to place it. There is no rotate option like there is for blocks. So if you do want to replace this thing, you have to position yourself accordingly to say, hey, the zombies are coming from there. That's where I want this thing facing. So you have to move your body in order to put it down. So now we look at the sledge turret here. If I left click, just get this little thump action here. It's kind of fun if you want to knock the zombies around. Does a minimal amount of damage to them. Usually a lot of people place these and use them to knock zombies off of ledges. If we have to go into our inventory again, there is nothing to reload on this, but we can still modify it. So again, we can put dies in here if you really want. And then because again, this is level 6, we have 4 modifier slots. My recommendations: weighted head mod, flaming. The structural brace, I'm not so sure if it actually helps it degrade less. I mean, we have the ability from the magazine that we read that does that, but I'd like to just make sure. You can put any one of these on there, but again, it's kind of hit or miss if they actually work or not. They do light up green, so you can place them in there. This one is grayed out, so if I try to put that, it doesn't work. There's no ammo to increase on this, so that's obviously completely unnecessary. So again, to place, we just right click and then right click again. When we're holding it in our hands, you see the flaming mod, but when it's out in the world, you do not see it. In order to pick it up, we just tap E. It's back in our inventory. And we can smack the zombies to your delight. So let's go ahead and place these things. The first thing I'm going to put down is the sledge turret. The sledge, I'm going to place him here. As you notice, there is one pathway here. There's a block, and then it's on that block there. So you can leave a little bit of a space so the zombies can't get to it to punch it. So let's come around this side. Again, there's nothing to wire up, so we don't even have to mess with that. And we're going to spawn a group of them, and we'll just grab some Arlenes. Let's get their attention so they don't all jump off. And then as you can see, it just starts dunking on them. And they are getting lit on fire, so even though it's not visually showing the flames on the turret itself, it is catching them on fire. Get out of here, lady. You're ruining the demonstration. And you can see how fast this thing is hitting for level 6. Basically, you just kind of use it as a area denial. Well, she got launched. All right, let me get rid of them real quick. All right, so they're dead. And we're done with this thing. So let's pick him up. And then we can switch to this. We have our shells in here. We'll go ahead and reload it. So you can reach through things and place it. I would not recommend putting it down where the zombies can get to it. So again, it's over here where there is a gap. So they can't just walk over and punch it. I would recommend putting it up top. Usually what I'll use those for, if I don't have any actual electric traps set up, I'll put them above my head on top of some railings so it can shoot the birds that are coming after me. You can reach through and grab it and then replace it up there so that you're still safe and you don't have to go out and mess with it. So let's go ahead and get some more friends to play with. Do this so I don't have to shoot. You can see how fast this thing's shooting. Seems as though we ran out of ammo. Get out of here, lady. Hope it's still shooting. Get out of here. All right, let me go ahead and get rid of them real quick. All right, so one thing to note that I did not mention as well is the robotic weapons will damage blocks. So right now we have the robotic shells loaded in there. You can see we have 242 left. I'm not sure why it stopped shooting. I may have needed to turn it at a little better angle so it was pointed more towards where they were standing at the door. So if I were to shoot this block, let's go ahead and fix that so it's now at 100%. If I shoot it with the robotic shell, then we switch back to our nail gun, you can see that it actually did 8 damage. There's 8 pellets, so did 1 damage per shot, per pellet in the shot. I'm going to switch to the AP ammo. We're going to shoot. You can see it only did 1 damage. So if this thing is sitting here all night, lighting up your blocks while it's shooting at the zombies, and it's made out of wood or something that's not going to protect it very well, you know, make sure you pay attention to where you place your turrets in relation to where they're going to be shooting. And then switch to the regular ammo, which if the AP only does 1 damage, you can imagine that that's only going to do 1 as well. So very simple again, yet could be kind of complicated if you make it that way. Now keep in mind, I have 2 deployed in the world right now, and I can still use this 3rd one that's in my inventory. So if you have just completely run out of ammo, your weapon's broke, and you don't have any repair kits, you're scrambling and struggling, and these are the last 2 things you have left, you can have 2 sledge turrets, you can have 2 robotic shooty turrets. It doesn't matter what combination. Again, right now I can have 2. If you do not have that skill, you will only be able to have 1. But you can pick up another one. As you can see, I have 2 deployed and 1 in my hand, and I can use this to fight the zombies with if I really absolutely needed to, and I was struggling and scrambling, and I was just trying to stay alive. That is an option, so you can only have that many deployed in the world operating on their own. Now, I would not recommend leaving these out if they're part of your horde-based defenses and you have some sort of storage box out in your base. I would recommend when the horde's over, putting it back in the box, simply because I have had these things disappear. I've been away from my base for a couple days at a time, and then I come back home and they're just gone. Nowhere to be seen, no explanation. They just disappear. So if you rely on them for your base design, or you treasure them dearly and you just really love your sentries or sledge turrets, I would recommend, again, storing them in a box and keeping them safe until you need to pull them out and deploy them. So just so I can show you, like I mentioned, if, let's say this was my fighting position, I've got railings up here. If these were bars, this would not work. If I right click, if I try and place it directly on there, it's red, but it will let me put it kind of in the air over it. So you just get it in a position like that where you want it. Right click, let it shoot. It runs out of ammo. I can just reach through and grab it and replace it again as needed. If you see it's floating up in the air, if I right click, it'll just drop right back down and it's fine. It won't damage it or anything. So hopefully that gave you a little bit of insight into robotic sentries and robotic sledge turrets. Hopefully you can find a way to use them in your base design. They are very kind of simple and rudimentary, but again, they do not require power. As long as you keep the sentry fed with ammo or the sledge turret out of danger of getting smacked, that thing will just keep thumping zombies all night long until you need to repair them. As you can see, the sentry turret that I'm holding in my hand, the little bar underneath the 6 is kind of gone down a little bit, and I really didn't use it that much. So it is going to deteriorate after shooting, and then the other one has a very minimal amount just from even sledging that small group of zombies. So these things will last a while, especially if you read the robotics book. So if you guys have any questions, feel free to leave them down below, and I'll try and answer them the best that I can, and I'll continue doing these series where I'm explaining to you some of the mechanics and things in the game that may seem complicated on the surface, but once you get a hang of them, they do become pretty easy to understand and utilize in your horde-based designs. So if you've made it this far, thanks for watching. I appreciate it. We'll catch you in the next video.